Hi everyone, I'm Felicia. I'm a postgrad at the London School of Economics, and I recently did an interview with TV producer Julian Dismore. Julian has worked in the media industry for almost his whole life. He has produced several shows for ITV, for 5, BBC One, and Netflix, and he was kind enough to share his insights with me and now with us. So, for everyone who wants to know what life as a producer looks like and how to get there, check out the video.
Yeah.
Okay, so hi Julian, thank you so much for being here. It's really nice to see you. I hope you're good. Are you good?
Yes, very good, thank you.
Perfect. Okay, let's begin. So, you've been working in the media industry for almost your whole life, and you've produced several shows for BBC One, 5, Netflix, ITV. And I was wondering, how did it all start?
It's amazing. A few years back, I suppose a decade ago, I suddenly realised I'd been in television longer at that point in my life than I'd not been in television. Um, and now it's true. I've been in television 33 years, and I'm 55 years old. So I've been in television a third longer than than I kind of lived, if that makes sense. But anyway, how I got in? Well, I went to university through natural sciences. Um, but where I went, they had Saturday morning lectures for natural sciences, and I did not fancy doing Saturday morning lectures. Um, so I transferred to economics. And then halfway through my second year, I thought, I don't want to go into banking or accountancy or the city. So I suddenly thought, well, what do I want to be when I grow up? And I never quite grew up. I never have grown up. But I thought that a career in the creative industries would suit me because I get bored very easily and it's varied and no 2 days are the same and a lot of adventures I've been lucky enough to have. So I thought I'll go for television, and it's very hard to get in. But I was lucky enough to get in, and I've had a really enjoyable career as a result.
That sounds amazing. So, what was your first job or your first project that you've ever worked on?
Well, my first job was for the Yorkshire Television Science Department, and I went into television to bring down Mrs. Thatcher. That was my aspiration, a controversial politician of the 1980s in the UK. And my first job was working on a quiz show. Uh, it's quite a sophisticated quiz show. It was about the mathematics behind puzzles. And it went out at 7 o'clock on ITV and got like 7 or 8 million viewers, incredibly. Um, so I didn't go into documentaries at that point. I was working on science documentaries, science kind of dramas, and that quiz show, which I really enjoyed doing. And then I gravitated towards observational documentaries and undercover journalism documentaries, where I was an undercover paedophile in the Philippines exposing sex tourists with hidden cameras. And I did a lot of wildlife programs where I flew all around the world and got bitten by a king cobra and fell off the volcano Krakatoa and got chased up trees by rhinos and almost eaten by crocodiles. So I've had a few near-death experiences, which all started from working on a quiz show, bizarrely.
Wow, that sounds so exciting. But like when you started that, did you have the feeling that you knew immediately that it was your passion, or did it like evolve gradually?
Pretty much as soon as I started in television, I realized I'd made the right career decision. I mean, my very first day at Yorkshire Television, I was given a tour of the building, and it was magical. It was basically 2,000 people worked there at that time, and such a variety of people, because there were directors and producers and camera operators, obviously, but there were chippies who did all the sets. There were drapes people who did all the curtains and things for the dramas. There were costume people. And so I was walking through the studios, and I'd see the countdown clock on one side of the props department, and I'd see Dusty Bin from a TV series called 321, a quiz show from the 1970s. And I'd walk into the Darling Buds of May set and see David Jason there, a famous comedy actor, rehearsing. And it was just a magical experience. And then that very first day, I was actually on television. Miriam Stoppard, who was a famous doctor in the 80s and 90s, she was doing a thing about health and fitness, and she had me lying on a bed doing exercises for her show, which was Good Afternoon Miriam or something. So my very first day in television, I went to bed with a famous TV star. So I mean, that variety of life experiences and excitement and adventure has suited me right down to the ground.
That sounds so amazing. Wow. You mentioned so many great experience. Do you have like one experience that you would say is your favorite one out of all of them?
It's hard to identify a favorite. It's like saying which is your favorite son, and I've got three sons, and they're all my favorites. I mean, I've been very, very lucky. So it depends on what you just define as favorite. In terms of helping improve things in society, I'd say the documentary about paedophilia in the Philippines helped get the law changed in this country to make it easier to prosecute paedophiles who go abroad, commit sex offences as sex tourists, allegedly tourists, and then come back to our country. So that was rewarding. It was a very dangerous job. The previous journalist who tried to expose sex tourists in that part of the Philippines had his head cut off by the local mayor. So it was dangerous, but I enjoyed working with my team, and I enjoyed the result of that documentary, which was getting the law changed. In terms of pure enjoyment, the cricket DVDs I've done and the cricket web videos where I've been to India, filming the IPL cricket tournament, and I love India, I love cricket, and I love partying, and there's a lot of partying surrounding the IPL. So I've tried to get something enjoyable out of every program I've worked on, but it's certainly true that some programs are more enjoyable than others.
And you just mentioned that like basically no day is like the other, like there is no routine at all. What do you think are the main tasks that help you like get through like this whole like, well, messy experience?
Well, I shouldn't exaggerate it too much because obviously I'm kind of condensing 33 years of adventures into minutes of interview. I mean, there have been days which have felt a little bit like Groundhog Day when I'm trying to make a program work in the edit, or I'm tromping through a jungle trying to find this rare snake, and days on end you're trying to find the snake and not finding it. So it's not all, you know, honey and roses. There've been some very tough times in television. It's a very stressful job. I think all the creative industries can be stressful because you're often relying on, you know, other things outside your control, like the weather, or the presenter who doesn't want to do another piece to camera, doesn't want to do take 10 when you think you've got it right, you know, they think we're right first time round. So it's not all brilliant, that's for sure. But I think the key thing is just when the times are tough to keep on going, be resilient. The show must go on, still make the program work, and enjoy the positives and the plus sides. There are many.
And what about traveling? So you produce shows in the UK, but like you've also been like traveling a lot. You've been in America, India, Australia. So how is that like being on the road that much?
I've been very lucky. I've flown to over 50 countries with somebody else paying the bills, the airfares and hotel bills, you know. And there is no better feeling, to be honest, than flying into a country with somebody else paying for the flight and knowing I'm going to embark on an adventure. Um, Now, filming abroad is stressful. It's really hard work. There's very little time off, but it is exciting, and it's not glamorous. Certainly, you know, lying in a tent in the middle of a snake-infested desert island is not glamorous, I can tell you, but it's not boring. So I've been very lucky, and I think there are less of those kind of gigs these days. There is less foreign travel because it's expensive. There are less of those kinds of series. But it's still true to say that if you work in television, because you've got a camera on your shoulder or a notepad, or you've got a recording mechanism for a radio show, any creative industry, when I say television, I mean digital, I mean radio, I mean journalism. People reveal their souls to you. They tell you their stories. They let you into their lives. And that's the best part about television. It's not so much the foreign travel or the exciting bits. It's the privilege of people letting you into their worlds and telling you their stories. And that's what has made my last 33 years so amazing.
I can imagine. Wow. So you've just mentioned how like the industry has changed like in the past years. Can you elaborate on that? And like what does it mean for us people who want to like start off now? Like what do these changes mean for us?
When I went into television in 1988, it was so long ago, pretty much everything's in black and white. I think Charlie Chaplin was one of my first collaborators. That's exaggerating it, but it was a very, very different world. There were no computers. There's no email, obviously. There was no sat nav. There was no mobile phones. You can imagine trying to make television in those circumstances. Not just that, I was a researcher, and I was a pure researcher. My job was to research. There were editors, their job was to edit. There were camera operators, their job was to operate cameras. There were directors and separate producers with very different roles. What's changed over the last 3 decades is that people are multi-skilled now. So I can shoot, I can edit, I can edit produce, I can series produce, I can train. So I'm very multi-skilled, and that's what you need to be able to do these days to keep getting jobs in television. You need to be aware that you can't be a pure anything pretty much. You need to be able to do lots of roles to make yourself more marketable to potential employers.
Yes, yes, I can imagine. Okay, so what advice would you give like young people that want to start off in the media industry?
Well, the thing to bear in mind is that there are a lot less jobs than people wanting to get those jobs. Demand for the jobs far exceeds the supply. So to get a job, you need to have a great CV. So at university, work on your skill set, work on your work experience opportunities, try and get paid media jobs if you can, make contacts, all these sort of things I cover in my workshops and my Zoom talks on how you can do all those things. Most of people go to my social media at Direct Productions UK, or check out my website, directproductions.co.uk. They'll see lots of advice videos on how to improve their CV and their introductory emails and their contact space. But the key thing is not to give up, be resilient, be persistent, and do your best to get in, because it is the best job in the world.
So do you think it's possible to like connect with people even though you don't know anyone?
Yeah, well, the fact of the matter is you probably do know someone. Remember 7 degrees of separation, you know, your mum's best friends, dog walkers, hairdressers, girlfriends, best mate might work in television. If that's the case, that's a vague contact. Utilize it to try and generate more contacts and get work experience. But you do need to steam into LinkedIn. You do need to watch the credits of programs and look at names and then send emails to those people, work out their email addresses one way or another. You can do it from the website of the company they work for, or at the BBC, it's first name dot second name at bbc.co.uk. So you can find their email addresses out, send them an email, give it a try, send out loads of emails. And that's the best advice I can give, and that is send loads of emails out, loads of CVs out, send lots of LinkedIn contact requests. You've got to put lots of seeds out there in the hope that one will land in the right fertile territory and germinate.
And when it comes to like producing your own content, your own digital content, for example, do you have any tips on like how to be creative and like how to produce really original content?
Yeah, it's very, very important. If people want to work in television and digital media, they need to have a YouTube channel. They need to be producing content. Now, somebody came to my course a few weeks ago and they were into ballet. They were great ballet dancers as well as doing media studies at university. So I said, well, do a ballet YouTube channel. You're passionate about ballet. You can do tips for children under lockdown, 2 or 3 minute videos on ballet. Package it up with bumpers either end, with a graphic at the top and a graphic at the end, a bit of music, make it look good. And the worst case scenario is you've filmed something, you've edited something, and you've broadcast something. That's great on your CV. And it's great to mention interviews. You've been resilient during lockdown. You've done something. Best case scenario is it goes viral. Posh parents love their kids doing these ballet lessons, and you make some money out of it. So it's a win-win situation, but people need to be motivated. Jobs won't fall in their laps unless they make it happen.
That's very true. So last question, what do you wish you had known at the age of 21?
Well, if I was giving myself advice aged 21, there are a number of key things I'd say to myself. The first thing is, don't wear tank tops on a date. And equally, you're not going to have hair forever, so enjoy it while you've got it. Have sensible haircuts for the next few years. No, but seriously though, as they say in best man speeches, the advice I'd give to myself is listen to advice. Find people to give you advice, absorb their advice, and action their advice. A lot of 18 to 21-year-olds think they know it all already. I certainly fell into that bracket. So I probably wouldn't have listened to that advice about taking on advice. But that's the best suggestion I can give to youngsters. And that is, go to TV Water Cooler on the website, go to TV Runners on Facebook, look for all these different forums that people can give you advice on how to break in, how to improve your CV. And most importantly of all, obviously, go to my social media and come on my workshops because, they're interactive and I go through a lot of CVs and introductory emails, and I see so many mistakes. You can see people, when I point out their mistakes, clicking, and they're realizing, yeah, that is a bad idea. It is not a great idea to have a spelling mistake on your CV. It is not a great idea to have your education, your GCSEs right at the top because you've got a CV from the internet, which is the wrong kind of CV for the media. So you see all these things clicking and people really cottoning on to the facts that they're listening to the advice, they're going to action that advice, and that really boosts their chances of making it in the media industries.
Thank you. Thank you so, so much. It was like an honor talking to you. Thank you.
Well, I think that might be exaggerating it, but I've really enjoyed it. You're a natural interviewer, and I look forward to seeing you flourish in years to come when you're a major TV star.
I hope so. Thank you. Thank you. It's been great. Thank you.